Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for Broadband Deployment News. So the state of New York is taking another swing at trying to get a $15 broadband package mandated for internet service providers in that state. Be right back. Hey, thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So back in April of 2021, the state of New York passed a budget. And in that budget, there was a law that was going to require broadband service providers to provide a $15 broadband package. And it was, I think, it was June of 2021, a judge came out and said that was not going to be allowed. And then in July 2021, the state kind of backed off of that. But that did not prevent them from doing an appeal. And that's what they've done, is they've done an appeal. So you're looking here at a story. This is in light reading, a story from Nicole Ferraro here. So let's look through this real quick. So Second Circuit Court of Appeals heard oral arguments on Thursday in a case regarding New York's Affordable Broadband Act, a 2021 law that would have mandated ISPs to offer a $15 service option for low-income consumers. That $15 option would be for broadband service, and in the case of the law, it was looking at 25 megabits per second down as what that would be, kind of the threshold for that. And then also they were supposed to offer a $100 option for $20. So $15 was a requirement. You had to have that package. And then also an option for 100 megabits per second down for $20 was my understanding at the time. So that law signed by former Governor Cuomo was quickly put on ice when industry groups representing ISPs sued the state, leading to a settlement. Again, that settlement did not prevent them from appealing. New York then appealed that decision with support from consumer groups and other states, bringing the parties back to court this week. While it remains to be seen how the court will rule in this case, the decision may ultimately have broader industry implications. Absolutely. And a note from New Street Research, registration required, if you wanted to go there. Following the proceeding, Blair Levin, a policy advisor who also served as chief of staff for FCC Chairman Reed Hundt, wrote the main concern of ISPs isn't New York's mandate per se, but the idea that states can mandate a specific offering to a specific population at a specific price. And that's true. I mean, you just don't have, the government should not be setting prices for private companies. You have that occasionally when you've got, let's say, a public service commission, and you've got one service provider like the gas company or the power company that is really providing the service not as a private entity, where the state, for example, can dictate the price, and then the power company, gas company, whatever, has to come back and say, hey, we need a price increase. The Public Service Commission looks at it and they look at the pricing, that kind of thing. So that's more of a public kind of service. But private companies that are competing in this way, that's just not free enterprise, right? So the federal government or any government should not be able to go in and set a price for a company. That is something that I don't agree with, and I understand why the judge put a hold on this. And I would imagine that the Court of Appeals will probably not allow us to go through, and certainly the Supreme Court, especially with conservative kind of leaning now, which would be leaning more towards the idea of kind of free market forces in a situation like this. I would not expect it to be held there, that this law would not go through in the Supreme Court if it ever got there. So court proceedings in New York come at a time of general uncertainty about the future of broadband affordability programs and rate regulation. As Levin points out in his note, the real danger to industry is the end of the ACP. The FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program, which currently provides broadband subsidies to roughly 15 million low-income households, but may run out of funding by mid-2024. I would imagine maybe even sooner than that, based on the number of people that are signed up, the amount of money, might even be before that. So that is something that's kind of hanging out there. The ACP was passed as part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It took over from the emergency broadband benefit, which is related to COVID, the COVID situation, and people having affordability issues due to that. But this is more of a low-income kind of benefit that was in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Part of that, it was funded for, I think, $14 billion or so, but that money, with the number of people that have signed up, is not going to go that far. So it will either need to be extended or made permanent, something like that. So this money, again, could run out in 2024. This provides a $30 subsidy to folks to be able to put towards their internet service. In some cases, that can provide for internet service, depending on what the service provider is offering. So they could offer a low-cost plan that's $30, and if somebody qualifies for the ACP, then they're basically getting free internet. And if you're on tribal lands, it's $75. So that is out there now, but that is ending, at least, or it will end unless they extend it. Should that happen, states may emulate the New York model and mandate low-income programs, wrote Levin. So again, I'm assuming that this all will be fleshed out prior to that happening. So I'm thinking that there will be enough rulings at this point, by this point, that it will be clear that this is either going to be allowed in New York or not. And again, I would suspect not. At the same time, the subject of rate regulation could potentially come up at the federal level if the FCC ever gets its fifth commissioner seated. President Biden's pick, recently nominated Gigi Sohn, has been attacked by groups associated with telecom lobbyists concerned about the return of Title II regulations for ISPs, among other things. And again, that is a concern that they could, if they return the Title II regulations and make this more of a regulated kind of industry, then maybe they could, if it's loose enough, they could regulate prices. And you don't see that with telephone companies that I'm aware of. I don't think you see the federal government coming in and saying you have to charge us, you have to have a low price. Well, I shouldn't say that. You have to have a low price internet or low price telephone service. Now, they do have a Lifeline phone service. And I think with Lifeline, you can get some benefit as far as broadband as well. But that's a little different, having kind of a Lifeline program versus saying that an internet service provider has to provide services at a particular price. Meanwhile, data shows that low-income households still lack access to affordable services, demonstrating a need for consistent, sustainable solutions. Well, that's kind of contrary to what we were just reading about with the ACP. So the ACP is out there. 15 million people are signed up. It's been promoted a lot. It's being promoted by service providers. It's being promoted by the government. I think everybody who wants internet probably knows about the ACP. Probably a very small percentage don't, so it's not going to be meaningful. So there's just some folks that don't want internet, whether they can afford it or not. That's just the case. So with the ACP available now, then what you're talking about is, in a lot of cases, again, people can get free internet, $30, and they get that subsidy. Or let's say the internet's $45 and they get the $30 subsidy, then it's $15. It's kind of like this New York deal. So again, there's not everybody wants to have a wired internet service in their home. Some people are fine using their mobile phone. It could be low-income folks that have got a mobile phone. There are programs for that to get free phones kind of in service. So I think the ACP, I understand the issue there, but I think right now people that are having issues affording broadband, if they qualify for the ACP, then they can get that $30 program. And the New York program, it had stipulations like if they were on Medicaid, food stamps, free or reduced school lunch, senior rent increase exemptions, and utility affordability kind of benefits. So that would give a lot of people in New York the ability to get this $15 broadband. And again, what you're then saying to all these ISPs is you have to provide this low price broadband service that could be costing you money, or you'd be breaking even at best, or maybe costing you money. And that's the real concern that people would have, would be providing a service that could be costing them dollars, charging $15 and actually costing them more to provide it. So that would be a lot of people that would be eligible for that. Recent research from Broadband Now, for example, points out that low-income regions of the U.S. are less likely to have access to affordable broadband plans, that the lowest broadband prices are broadly present in the highest income states around the United States. And that quite often is in rural areas, because in rural areas it's more expensive to provide the service. So we're trying to find ways to help with that, and certainly getting broadband operators in there that can provide service and getting them subsidies, the broadband grants to be able to provide that service there will help. But I think that's probably what we're seeing there, is a lot of rural areas where the cost to provide the service is higher, so the price is higher. Or, and this is something that's true with the free market, you've got urban areas, suburban areas where you've got lots of providers. So you're going to be seeing more competition, driving the price down, and you don't have that in rural areas as well. But quite often in rural areas, if you've got an incumbent in there that they can provide the service at a reasonable amount, that the prices are pretty good. And I know this because we work with lots of rural providers, rural cable companies, rural phone companies that are providing good internet service, and the prices are reasonable. So it really depends on the situation. As an example, The research company compares New Jersey and Mississippi. In New Jersey, where the average household income is 100,000, over 90% of the population can access a low-price broadband plan for under $50 a month. In Mississippi, the lowest earning state, the data show those with access to affordable broadband dropped to 33%. Again, that's going to depend on, you've got New Jersey, probably a very populous area, so their costs are low, lots of customers per mile, lots of competition. Then you have Mississippi, where it may be that you've got lots of miles per customer and maybe only one provider, and it's expensive for them to provide the service, and they don't have a competitor to drive the price down. So those are kind of your differences there. That's a big part of it, I would think. So again, I don't expect that this will go through. You know, New York had to kind of drop their plans before, and I guess they got some support from consumer groups in other states that are saying, "Hey, you know, let's make this a case," and they're putting it forward. But you know, here in the United States, you know, we don't force businesses. We don't tell them what they can charge. You know, unless there's a monopoly situation, and you know, I'm talking about a real monopoly situation where one company controls the market. I mean, in any of these areas, if there's one provider, somebody else can come in and provide the service. So one provider, if there's one provider there that's taken the risk of and the expense of putting broadband out in a location, another provider can come in if the prices are high, and you know, then you kind of have competition and prices come down to a kind of a level where both providers can make a living and have a return on investment. That's kind of the way it works. Could be 2 or 3. And then again, in areas where you've got lots of customers, lots of providers can come in because there's more and more customers, or there's a lot more customers that can support that business. So it is a free market. I don't expect that we will be seeing the courts make a decision in favor of New York, but I guess we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for joining me. If this was interesting, if you would give me a like on the video, I'd appreciate that. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and click the bell to be notified when I'm live. Tomorrow I'll be live at 3 o'clock for Tech Tuesday, and I believe tomorrow we'll probably be finishing up the series that we're doing on best practices for broadband call centers. If you're providing broadband support or looking to provide broadband support in a call center, we've gone through this series, and tomorrow's topic is what to do when the unexpected happens. So it might be something so unexpected that you've not even planned for it, but there's certain things that you can plan for, and I will be talking about that with my guest, Jason Young, our Vice President of Call Center Services here at Zequorum. So I hope to see you then. Thanks a lot, and take care. Bye-bye.